Hey guys, what is going on? This is DJ Echo of Echo Entertainment, and you are in the element with
Jared Ingram.
Jared Ingram. Let's do this. We'll be right back. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Again, this is DJ Echo of Echo Entertainment, and you're in the element with Jared Ingram. Jared, how are you, brother?
Awesome, man. Tired?
Yes.
We're both
Yes,
tired.
it's very early, very early in the morning, but I was able to kind of snag a few moments of your day. I know it's crazy early in the morning. Again, we want to thank True by Hilton. We're right here in Middletown, New York. We're in the middle of their lobby. Everybody's eating, and we're just setting up shop. That's how we do. So we appreciate their help, and thank you very much. And so, what's up, brother?
Well, this is kind of like a restart, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a 3-year record deal a few years back.
Right.
Finished that out. We were going to record another record with Riverside Confession. And then my life went to heck, man. I lost my family. I became basically a major drug addict and wound up on the street. Long story short, I got remarried. God's healed a lot of that stuff. It's only God can take a situation like what I was in and turn it into what I'm in today.
Right.
And he's now, I swore I'd never do music again. I swore I'd never preach again.
Right.
And it seems like God's like opened the door to jump right back into it full force, man. So,
So, I want to really get into your story, but let's rewind a little bit. Me and you met. I can't even how long? How many years?
Oh man, that must have
5,
been like
6, 7, 8. No, it's got to be way more than that.
It's probably like 10 years
10
ago.
years
man.
ago.
It's crazy.
We met at a
That was SUNY New Paltz.
open. It's like an open mic at SUNY New Paltz.
Yeah.
And back then you were Cry the Scapegoat,
Cry the
right?
Scapegoat.
Cry the
Yeah,
Scapegoat,
that was my
and
band.
they were like what do you call, like an alternative rock
Yeah, we
kind
were like
of
alternative Christian rock.
right,
We were-
exactly. Back then I was doing my hip hop, my gospel hip hop, and I mean we just kind of connected. He gave me, I still have your albums in my house, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we stayed in touch on Facebook and things like that. And then just life happens, and you know how that goes. People lose touch, and so when I had the opportunity to sit down with you again, once I remembered and everything clicked again, I'm like, yes, I have to do this. I have to do this. So, all right. So let's go into right now. What do you consider your music? Like, what's the label, the genre? What do you?
It's kind of a southern rock, man. It's
Okay.
acoustic southern rock, but it's storytelling. So it's got like that folky element because it's telling the story
Right.
in a way of what's just happened in my life, you know.
Gotcha.
And it's one thing I used to write. This is what's funny to me. Back in the day, I'd write music about going through pain and stuff like that, right? But then I had no idea what was really coming down the line. Like, I was going to have to actually go through what I was writing about.
Exactly.
And then you walk through it, and it changes. You can play the same song now that I wrote 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
But since I've been through
Makes
it,
more sense now.
man, now it's just it's like it just wrecks me. You know,
Right,
I get
right,
on stage and I'm the one bawling. You know,
Right.
I'm playing rock and roll and crying at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's what Jesus does, man. He
awesome.
kind of pierces the heart, and sometimes it's like sometimes you minister to yourself. You know what I'm saying? The music, we both made music, and you make music to sometimes, most of the time it's to minister to others, but I mean, so when you really allow God to take over the writing process and really put himself in the making of the song, you come to find out, you're talking to yourself. God is speaking to you through your own words that you meant for somebody else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's him prophesying right to you sometimes.
Exactly. Wow. So we spoke a little bit. So where are you located right now? Where are you?
So right now I'm in Bath, New York.
Okay.
There we have a church service on Sunday nights at 5:30 p.m. and that does stream online.
Okay.
So if people look my page up, the church's name is Bethesda Chapel.
Okay.
And we meet at the Days Inn there in Bath, the hotel. And it's a small service, but a lot of people watch online.
There you go.
And I do tree removal during the day, and then play concerts and preach and then cut trees down. And that's kind of
gotta have that job, gotta have that definite income coming in.
Well, music pays tons.
Right.
I'm loaded. I don't need to do it. I'm joking. So sometimes it costs me more than I get at the end of the day.
Man, listen, you ain't playing, brother. You ain't playing. I think I lost a lot of money doing what we did, but you know what? It's not about the money, man. It never was. You know what I mean? No. Like I knew going into it that it wasn't. It was gonna go as far as God wanted, and I always, in the back of my mind, it was always all right. I always said, when God tells me it's time to hang it up, I'll hang it up. When God says put the mic down, that's it, I'm done. And listen, I would have loved to tour the world and preach to 10,000 person arenas and this and that, but God kept me small. God kept me hitting the streets, doing free shows, and being able to go to like Newark, New Jersey, and the streets of Puerto Rico, and the streets of New York City, and that's where it was, and I was okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I was able to put out 3 albums, all that kind of stuff. So, but God kept me small, and I was okay with that. And when He said, "Listen, I think it's time," it took a while. I didn't listen at first. No, I don't think anyone ever does.
Yeah. You fight that. You fight that. You're like, change is coming. Change is coming.
But eventually, I listened, and on to doing His work other ways. So you have the church, you have the job, you have the family. You have kids, you have a wife. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Trying to kind of balance everything. How are you able to do all that?
I mean, like,
because you like the pastor of the church, or you the worship leader, you're the pastor?
Both. I'm both right now. I'm both right now.
So how are you able to kind of balance all that stuff to
I don't answer my phone, man. I just put that thing in my dresser and I don't answer that.
You gotta email him. That's it. Just email him and he'll get back to you when he can.
Man. I'm just super selective. Like I really pray over what I do, just because at this point I don't have a lot of extra time. So it's like you had to be more choosy. And back in the day, I would just do anything because part of it was pride because I just wanted the pat on the back. I was slightly addicted to that.
Right.
I would say I lost myself in ministry.
Bro, talk about it.
I lost myself in ministry. And Jesus, it was like I started chasing the anointing or the gifting that He had given me. I started chasing that thing instead of chasing Him. And then I would justify the garbage in my life by saying, well, I do all of this for God, so, it's okay. And when I lost all that, and He was the only thing that stayed.
Right.
He's like, I wasn't pursuing Him anymore. And at that point, I had lost my family. I was going through divorce. At one point, I was homeless for a little while.
Wow.
And during that whole thing, I was like, His voice cut through everything else. Mm-hmm. It was like, even my friends from the church community had like kind of abandoned me because they're like, what's Jared doing? Jared's lost his mind. Yeah. But he never left. And so, I realized, and I swore I'd never play music again or I'd preach again, which is funny that He's opening the door back to those things. But He became enough. Finally, for the first time in my life, after I didn't have anyone else to please anymore because they were already disappointed in me.
Right.
And the rumors were already spreading, so you just had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Once that didn't matter anymore, it was like he was enough.
Right.
And once he was enough,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, now when I go play a show, I'm playing a show because God's sending me to do a job, to have influence over someone else who's going through the same thing.
Exactly.
And I do that because of that. I don't need the show anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he's opening the doors again. Because like finally, I don't need it.
Yep.
Like I wouldn't need to play the guitar another day in my life, and I mean that.
Yeah.
Like straight up, if I needed to, no more. And that's what makes it so I can enjoy life now.
Exactly.
Finally,
Yeah.
I can enjoy life, and
Yeah.
I wish someone would have sat me down earlier on, and instead of telling me, Jared, you got so much potential,
Yeah.
I wish they would have said, Jared, don't chase your potential,
Right.
chase him.
Oh, he's preaching now, y'all.
It's crazy.
He's preaching now, y'all.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
When you were going through that phase, the downfall, the spiral, you said that God was still there.
Yeah.
How did you hear him? How did he stay in touch with you? Because I know that, we all go through hard times, and when you go through those hard times, for me, when I've gone through those real hard times, the Bible is not the book that I want to read. I'm not listening to Christian music. I'm not going to church. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of all that, like, how do you still hear him? Was it through signs? Was it through other people to contact you? In his, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did you still stay in contact with God throughout all that process?
Well, I think the biggest way was because I wasn't. Of course, I was so blinded at that point to my own sin, and all that stuff. God had to open my eyes because I was blaming everyone else. I was like, it's all their fault. They don't know who I am, and all my pride, right? But it was God's voice that when I was a kid and I gave my life to Christ when I was young. And I remember when I was 12 years old, I told God, look, I'm going to go anywhere you send me. And then I started asking God to send me to the front lines, which I didn't understand what I was asking for.
Yeah.
But I had this close relationship with him, and he would speak to me. Like you could hear his voice, like in my heart, like I knew he was talking to me. And I lost that, funny enough, in ministry, right?
Yeah.
And then when everything else faded away, everyone else's voice was always louder than God's. But God whispers to us.
Yeah.
It's like this still small voice.
So it's that always constant.
Yes.
It's always there.
It's always there. So what happened was it didn't really change.
Yeah.
It's not that he spoke more. It's that everyone else's opinions had fallen away.
Yeah.
I was no longer trying to become a rock star. I was no longer a pastor. I no longer had anyone else really in my corner. And so his voice was all that was left. And it was like he silenced everything else and said, Jared, this is causing you to ignore your true purpose. Right. And when that all fell away, it was like I just woke up every morning and knew that it was like God was standing over me like, you ready yet, Jared? Are you ready yet to let me be everything? Are you ready yet to actually know that I love you? Because I haven't turned my back on you yet. And it was like he was waiting every morning saying, I still haven't left you. They did. Your best friends have left you. Yeah. And you did dirt. He's like, you did some dirt, man, but I'm not going to leave you. Right. And it was one thing after another. And the big turning point was when I had a job at Walmart, and I had blown my back out. And I was like, I feel like my life's done. I said, God, at that point I was going through the court process and trying to figure out how I was going to still visit my kids and all of that, which a lot of people know what that's like. It's a really painful process, And I'm sitting there, and I told God, I said, God, if you don't do something, I'm just done. And I was just, when you get to the point where you're like, I think I could do it. I could kill myself. Yeah. And so I said, you have to do something, or else I think it's better off I'm just not here. Right. And it was 2 days later, a pastor from Ithaca called me and said, look, we know who you are. You preached at my church. We want you to come to Ithaca, and we want to help you get on your feet. Wow. And he
out
kept
of the blue.
Out of the blue, man.
Wow.
2 days after I had that conversation with God. So I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm done. I'm gonna end my life. And then this guy keeps reaching out to me.
Right.
And then a second person from Ithaca starts calling me and saying, I think I can get you a job at the Ithaca Rescue Mission.
Ooh. Okay.
So I go out there and I'm living in this little shed, Second Wind Cottages. You guys are awesome. They put me up in this little shed that they had, and I started working at the Ithaca Rescue Mission. And while I'm there, my life is still in this tailspin, but God's there every morning saying, are you listening to me? I'm here. Right. I'm here. And they approached me and asked me to be the chaplain. Wow. And I'm like, do you guys not know my story? Haven't I told you where I just came from and what's been going on in my life? And you want me to be a chaplain? So I became this chaplain in an environment that was like with people that have been through way worse stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And it changed me, man. It changed me. I got to walk through the meth camp. I got to I'll never forget the day I opened up this shed curtain. It was getting close to wintertime, and I'm in the jungle where the homeless encampment, and I open up the curtain, and there's a woman that's my grandmother's age smoking a crack pipe, and we're bringing them water, It changed my perspective on what I thought was hard in life.
Gotcha. And
I was like, you know what, God, you're enough. I don't care if this is all I do for the rest of my life. I surrender, man. Wow. And I've just been holding on ever since. Yeah. Making babies. I'm remarried. I've got two new children and a third on the way. So
awesome. That's great. But I like what you said. You said holding on, and it's still like, regardless of the fact that you have this new mission and you have things are looking up. Yeah. There's always that hole somewhere where if you say the wrong thing or you take the wrong move, or you fall into that hole, and if you don't catch yourself, you just drop right back into everything again.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And when it comes to, so when you were doing the rescue mission, you were going. It was more about preaching and talking to people, right? It was kind of When did the music kind of slide back into everything again?
So I started getting invited. This was funny. I started getting invited to go play bars.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And no one at this point, before I had like this small town fame, but it was mostly like different conferences, different towns. We never really played. Right. Yeah. And so now I'm on the street. Now I'm like, I'm one of everybody else. Now I've been through the same garbage, and I've experienced life, So
you got more to relate.
Yeah, exactly. Totally different. And so I start playing these bars, and no one knew who I was, and they were all like, and I'm playing the same songs I wrote before, but they have an edge to them now that they never had.
So definitely.
And dude, I've watched bars just shut down, and God, it's like, what's going on? And I'm like, get him, God, get him! And I'm just going after it, right? Yeah. And they just, it's amazing, man. I've had some of the greatest conversations with people, and so that was kind of what got me back into music ministry, was in the bar. I just started in the bar and on the streets, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hanging out with drug dealers, and they come to me when they were wrecked.
Hey, they need Jesus too, right?
Yeah,
they need Jesus too,
and they needed someone. I realized Jesus is so much more approachable than the church has made him. Yeah. We put him in this box, and no one wants to approach the box But Jesus says he understands because he's been tempted at all points. He's totally relevant, and we've worked so hard to make him irrelevant. And it's like, once you stop putting him in a box, all of a sudden, man, people would just come up in droves. To watch an entire bar sing Amazing Grace weeping, right? It blows your mind. Awesome. And you're like, how is this happening? It's just like, because he is completely relevant today for everything we're going through today, no matter whether it's divorce or a loss of children, or you don't know how you're going to pay child support, or how you're going to get, or if you're facing court time, jail time, any of that stuff. Like, he can bring peace. Like, that's the problem. The church teaches us, like, I'm sorry to preach, but the church taught me when I was a kid this perspective that we're supposed to do for God so that he changes our circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm a good enough Christian, he'll change my circumstances.
Right.
But Christ didn't come to change my circumstances. He came to change me.
Yeah.
He came to show me what I was always created to be. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming something you're not. It's about becoming what you were always created to be.
Gotcha.
And he cuts through the lie, and that's the trick of not going back.
Yeah.
The trick of not going back is to realize when I step in it that that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And to literally say, God, you know that's not who I am. I know that's not who I am. I know who I am is found in you. And like literally, as soon as you step in it, the quicker you get at doing that, it doesn't suck you back in like it used to, man. It's
wow.
Real
That's
freedom,
awesome.
dude. Real freedom.